This week on the Milford Informer, we are so pleased to be joined by Geri Eddins, part of the Citizens for Milford here in town, to begin a discussion for what we hope will really be an educational opportunity for the residents of Milford as it pertains to local elections here in town. But first and foremost, Geri, so happy to have you once again on the Milford Informer. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's always a pleasure to be here at Milford TV.
So when we talk about the local Milford elections, Citizens for Milford has really had a great commitment to trying to get as much out there to the public to educate voters on the races going on in the lead up to the April elections.
Yes.
I think it's been over a decade now that we've been partnering with CFM on candidate forum series every March to be able to get the candidates for the contested races out there to really help deliver their message and help to inform the residents for who is running for these important local races. Can you maybe talk about that commitment that CFM has
Absolutely.
had?
Yes, absolutely. So the mission of Citizens for Milford has two key components. The first one is to encourage active citizen participation in the community. And the second one is to organize projects and events that help contribute to the vitality and improve quality of life here in Milford. So, for example, the Beautification Day in April, the Field of Flags in Draper Memorial Park. But going back to that first component of our mission, active citizen participation, this goes back to when we were first organized back in early 2014. Our very first event was to host a candidate forum featuring the candidates running in contested races in Milford's town election. And so that was March 2014. We've been doing it ever since, hosting an election, even throughout the pandemic, hosting these candidate forums, helping Milford voters get to know who's running for office and where each of them stands on the issues. In conjunction with that, we also provide a lot of voter information, voter education, geared at helping Milford voters understand how to register to vote, where to do that, what the election timelines are. We've been working actively with the town clerk's office throughout, this last decade, as you said. And so this year, as we do every year after a particular project or event, after this year's election, we sat down and, talked about, okay, what are we doing for voter education? And then a member said, what are we doing for candidate education? And what can we do to help get more Milford residents involved in the process of throwing their hats in the ring to run for a seat on the select board, on the Parks Commission, on the school committee? And so with that idea, we reached out in partnership to you, Milford TV, as well as the town clerk's office to come up with this series of interviews to inform Milford residents what it takes to actually run for office here in Milford. And not only that, to explain what each of the positions that will be on the ballot in April 2025, what the roles and responsibilities of each of those positions are.
It's a really great initiative, and kind of digging a little bit deeper, Geri, into I think it is important to have sort of a two-pronged approach to the local election, getting more candidates involved and getting more residents involved in the voting process. And this is something that I know we reflect a lot, you and I, after elections. And going back through the numbers from some of the recent local elections, we had a 16% voter turnout in 2024 for the April election, which is a low number until you look at what happened the 2 years prior, where we didn't even reach 10% of registered voters coming out for the April elections. We haven't seen voter turnout even in the 30% range since, strangely enough, the 2020 election, which was in the midst of the pandemic, so kind of an outlier year there. That also lined up with the last time that we had a contested select board race.
Right.
And so I feel like it all kind of comes back together in getting more candidates involved, having more vibrant races also seems to then bring out more people to get involved in voting for the election. So really
Right.
important to really target this both to the general voting public and also a call to action to get more candidates involved.
Right, absolutely. And so when you have more contested races on the ballot, more voters are engaged. And not only does that offer the Milford public a choice, but it also contributes to the overall conversation about what is happening here in the community. I'm a town meeting member, and we just had special October town meeting within the last 2 weeks. And it's really interesting what you learn just as a town meeting member based on the articles that are on the warrant. And so participating in town meeting, and of course, that's an opportunity to get involved and to get on the ballot. We will have the town moderator, Michelangelo Bontempo, coming to the studio to talk about what it means to be a town meeting member as a part of this series. But having more folks step up to the plate to run for town office, whether it's town meeting, select board, school committee, it really contributes to the overall conversation and enabling all Milford residents to understand what's happening here in Milford.
And so just a great approach to this series. We'll have representatives from the town clerk's office in to really go through the local election ballot from sort of that outside perspective, really giving a lot of great information on the races, terms, general information about a lot of these positions. But it's really going to be great, too, to have actual elected officials who will come in to talk about each of their positions, whether it's Mike Bontempo talking about town meeting members. We'll have members of the select board in to talk about select board seats, the board of library trustees, all of the various elected positions in town to really give some insight about what it takes to serve in each of those positions. Because, Jerry, I'm sure for a lot of folks out in the community, it may seem a little daunting to sit at home to think about, well, I have something to say, I have a lot of thoughts about the community, but I'm just not sure if I can make that commitment to run for office, or maybe it's just that fear of the unknown. So to perhaps make these positions a little bit more accessible to people to learn about what it takes to hold these positions, that's certainly the hope that it will inspire more people to get involved.
Yes, absolutely. That's the goal. So 2 goals. One is to get more people involved in running for office, and then to encourage a greater voter turnout in April.
And the reality is we see a lot of participation in the statewide races, in certainly presidential elections. And those are things, Jerry, that obviously command a lot of attention in
Right.
the media. But it's a cliche to say, but it all comes down to the local level. And
Yes.
there are so many things that are decided that have a direct impact on people's lives at the local level. And so it may not feel important compared to a lot of the things that we see in the news media day in and day out about a presidential election, but really what happens in your school committee, in your select board, in your planning board, zoning board, all of these other positions, those are really important things that have a tangible impact on a resident's day-to-day life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Local elections are where it's at. You know, really, all of these different positions that will be on the ballot, like you said, school committee, select board, parks commission. You know, there's a lot happening in Milford's parks right now, and the parks commissioners are the ones who are the ultimate authority in determining what, that they have jurisdiction over the parks. Sewer commission. They're actually, interestingly, Milford has 5 constables. They're all elected, and they are all up for re-election in April. But what does a constable do? I imagine most folks in Milford are like me. I don't really know what they do. And so having these elected officials come into the studio and talk about their jobs, what their terms are, how much time they have to spend in their roles. We're really hoping that that will help inform the public and get some people interested in learning what they can do to run for town office.
Well, these are really great conversations to have. So we are looking forward to having a series of elected officials in here to have these conversations, and then we'll be sharing them with you here on the Milford Informer in the weeks to come. So again, we will take a comprehensive look at all of the positions that you will be voting for in the April 2025 ballot. And of course, there will certainly be opportunity for folks to throw their hat in the ring and get involved with these positions as well. So I encourage you to keep a close eye on this series. And if you have something to say, if you want to get involved in the local political process, this is an opportunity for you to learn about these positions and maybe decide that you want to be a candidate on that 2025 ballot. And so once again, Geri, we're so thrilled to partner with the Citizens for Milford on this, and we really hope it makes a difference in the community.
Yes, thank you so much, Tim. We're looking forward to continuing the partnership.